guys, we're here at TD Garden. How fun is this
Pretty
space?
cool.
Yeah, I know. This is cool. I feel like a big dog.
Why don't we do some intros? Because we've got everyone here together. This is the first time we've had this group, which is really exciting. I'm Sabrina. I'm the community lead for House of Visionaries. We can just go down the line here.
Yeah, do you want me to go first?
Yeah, go for it.
I'm Ben Rutter, and I'm the co-founder of Bond Global and at House of Visionaries. And I'm the resident Brit.
True. I'm Sybil Solis. I'm Senior Director of People and Culture at Kymera Therapeutics.
And I'm Michael Brown. I'm the founder and chief strategist at Door 3 Talent.
Nice. Well, it's amazing to have you all here. Thank you for coming out and, of course, coming all the way from the UK. House of Visionaries, the idea is to step away from the day-to-day and tackle the big, bold challenges of tomorrow. So we've got a few really cool topics today, very salient right now around, one, people and culture, but then also AI. Seems like two disparate topics, but they're very much informing each other right now and how people engage with work. So we thought we'd do like a quick kind of kickoff question. It's a tricky one, but with all that context, what would be the one word that you would use to describe workforce engagement right now?
It's a tricky one, as you said.
One word. On workforce engagement.
The state of workforce engagement. How do you feel it's going?
Disengagement.
I like that one.
I think the workforce is at risk of being unengaged. So I would say there's probably a lack of engagement. I'm happy to expand on that, but I'll maybe let the other guys say some words as well and see what they're thinking.
Sure. Yeah.
I'd say I think the workforce is in a state of questioning. There's curiosity. And I mean that with everything going on in the state of things today, with all of the different technology and the challenges that people are facing, I'd say maybe curiosity is the opportunity way of saying it, right?
Yeah.
I like that. I always love a positive spin. I think the other thing I keep thinking about and coming back to is transformation. Right? We're in this like constant state of change. Maybe it's disengagement and maybe it's not, but I do think that we're just constantly changing and churning right now.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, we definitely need to dissect this a little bit more. So going into the first question, I think will give us a good chance to do that. Do you think companies have pulled back on the importance of people of culture in the last 5 years? And fast forward 5 years, what are the impacts of that going to be?
I think they have. I think as we sit here today, I would say there's a lower focus or less of a focus on people and culture. I think there's a number of different reasons for that. I think first and foremost, I would say the last 2 or 3 years, the macroeconomic's been pretty depressed. So I think just naturally when times are a little bit harder or the market's a little bit more depressed, people normally pull back on people and culture. So I think but that's cyclical. That happens all the time. That's just like a thing that happens here and now. And then I think also on top of that, it's probably been magnified by AI as well. So the questioning, I think, from leadership and everybody around, well, do we need people as much anymore? Are people as much of a key cog in the future, or can we replace people? So I think there's the macroeconomic times has led to a little bit of a less of a focus on people, which is relatively normal. But what's not normal is then have this big question mark around, well, do we even need people? And I think that's led to a bit of a shrinking in the focus. And what does that mean in 5 years' time? Well, I've said it a few times that I think we're in danger of potentially having the most disengaged workforce of a generation where if all they hear is redundancies and we don't need you, I can replace you with AI, then you're going to end up with quite a disengaged workforce. So I think there's definitely a high level of risk moving forward that you end up with quite disengaged workforces and people pull back on the people strategy. So I think now's the time to be doubling down, really focusing on people. Of course, focusing on AI as well, but not forgetting that ultimately people are key.
Yep.
So I feel like they sat us here for a reason, because you're taking the more like maybe pessimistic view of all of this, and I'll take the opportunity view.
I'm the miserable Brit.
Yeah, it makes sense. You're the
Optimistic.
pragmatic, right?
Yeah,
Pragmatic.
Love it.
No, I think culture is maturing right now, and I think what you're seeing is a bit of a reset of what's going on with people and culture. And what I mean by that is the companies that are going to do really well with the investment in AI, with how they're deploying AI into their organizations, are going to be the ones that have the strongest leaders that know how to use it for good things, right? For positive things, for not replacing people, but for leveling up people. And I think that's where you're going to see a marked change in, how companies are taking something like AI and making it something that's going to propel them into the next 5 years. I think the companies that are saying these resources, these AI tools are going to replace you, are going to also have they're going to have a workforce that is also feeling temporary, right? And they're not going to want to put in all the effort because they're going to see their time is up, right? But the ones that are actually using this for leveling up their organizations are going to be the ones that really win this game. Because at the end of the day, I mean, this is a resource that's going to take us into, the next decade. And we're only seeing the top of the iceberg, right? Or the tip of the iceberg, I should say. With AI, I don't even think we're fully using it, right, as a group of organizations, right, as a people. We're not using it for what it could potentially be used for. We're using it for what we think it can be used for. So I think there's still so much learning that has to happen, and change management.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's room for skepticism and also optimism as well. Mike, where do you
Yeah, I
fall
mean,
in there?
I tend to kind of maybe fall in both camps to some degree. I think there's a lot of pessimism about, AI in the workforce and what will that do. And I think a lot of companies have chosen to latch on to the fear tactic of, get on board or be left behind. And I don't know if that's necessarily the right path. And I think that the companies that are going to do well, to your point, are those that have, a really well-oiled strategy and leaders that are leading from the top down and leading by example on what do they do with AI and how do they use it and where do they use it. I think being really intentional about that. But I also think that on the flip of that, AI is almost causing the people function to be slightly commoditized. At certain levels. I mean, I can talk about TA because it's near and dear to my heart, but that's where you hear it all the time, where recruiters are deathly afraid of AI coming in and replacing them in certain degrees. But I actually don't think that's necessarily going to be the case. I think it really is all about skill evolution and leveling people up, and you've got to have that right talk track in order to make people believe that, though.
Yeah. Well, I like where you're going with leveling people up. What are some things that you all are excited about in terms of how AI can maybe enhance people and culture in a company?
So one of the things that I love about it is I feel as though AI has the ability to be probably one of the biggest game changers for inclusion. So when you think about how you communicate to people, when you think about how people react to information, neurodivergent, just thinking as a whole, I think you have a really big opportunity to then really make intentional, customized, designed communications with people in the organization. And I think at times I probably spent a lot of time thinking about that, where now I don't have to think so much about that because I have a thought partner, right, with AI to help me do that. I think, 5 years ago, I would probably spend a good amount of time thinking about how do I message something, to make sure that I'm capturing everything I need to capture in that moment and be really intentional with people. Now I have an opportunity to do that, and I can do it easily. It's at my fingertips.
I think great people and culture is centered around human interaction. So being able to build deep connection with people, deep level of trust, and that takes time. It takes time. It takes effort. And the one thing for me would be with AI is if you can use AI to take away all the crap, all the admin, all the day-to-day stuff you don't have to do anymore. You could use all of that time and energy to build deeper relationships, deeper trust.
Totally agree.
I think that's the exciting thing for me in terms of how AI could enhance the people and culture space. If you can lose 20-30% of your job and spend that 20-30% building deep human connection, deep trust, I think it could massively enhance people and culture, which I think is exciting.
Yeah, I totally agree. Right. If you have the opportunity to remove the noise and the busy work that we've all spent tons of time on. I was thinking about some of the things I've spent time on recently, and it's just like, it's crazy to think about some of the writing projects or looking back at projects that you worked on 5 years ago and the amount of time that you spent like writing the communication, to your point about that. Now you can do it in a matter of minutes at some point or at some time. And so I think that there's a lot that kind of is going to transform over the next 5 to 10 years, but it's going to take some time too. Like there's got to be the intentional pieces to level people up, to build those skills, to train people on what's next in order to get them there too.
Mm.
Yeah, absolutely. Thinking about the future as well, and obviously AI has been informing a lot of that. If you fast forward 5 years, what do you think the people function may look like compared to today? And what are the fundamental differences?
I mean, I think to the point of what everybody has been saying is I think HR has a huge opportunity to rebrand itself and, take away some of those opportunity, even resource, right? Like HR. I mean, in my organization, we're called People and Culture, and I love that. I actually think it fully represents more of the impact that you're having on the people you're working with. And I think with AI, it is only there to help accentuate that. When I think about, all of the great things that we can do in 5 years, again, I think I mentioned this, like we're just at the tip of the iceberg. I mean, I think you've got a lot of opportunities for learning and training and capability building that I don't think we have today. And I think you have through probably certain softwares that you work with, but you have the ability to do that in a very customized, again, like individualized way. And I think that's going to be really empowering. Again, everything is moving towards the skill building and capability building in the organizations, especially like, when you think about all the different AI that you can pull into your organizations. But I think HR has the ability to, again, like I keep saying, level up, but they can really rebrand what I think for the last 5 years people have been thinking has been very tactical, reactive, operational.
Yeah,
So I'm excited for that.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the tip of the iceberg. I think we're like 1% of the way done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We've still got another
Totally
99% to figure out. And I think there's been a lot of promises and comments over maybe the last 1 or 2 years around how fast the AI is coming and the transition is going to happen. I think it's going to take longer than a lot of industry leaders claim. They make some really bold claims around the impact that it's having and how quickly it's happening. I think there's no disputing that it's going to have a huge impact. I think the time frame to have impact is longer than what most people think to figure out the other 99% or at least another 50% of it. But I think it's just such an exciting opportunity to do amazing things. If I think about what would it look like in 5 years, I think in the TA space and people, I think there'll be a huge growth in TA ops and people ops. So functions that are very different to what you usually hire. So very technical individuals that are detail oriented, process oriented, ops orientated, versus what you might traditionally have hired in TA and people functions, which are normally people with higher levels of emotion intelligence and EQ to be able to operate on that human side. And I think that's really exciting. The whole new jobs are going to be created, whole new functions are going to be created. But I can see a world where in 5 years' time, the half of these functions are actually very technical people running systems, people running AI, people running processes, freeing up the people that are very, very good on the emotional side to go and have real impact in the business. So I think there'll be huge change in 5 years, but I'm not sure it's the world. In 5 years, I don't think it will be the world that some people think it will be. No humans,
totally
all robots, no jobs.
Right.
I think I think that's more like a 10, 15, 20-year journey. I think in 5 years there will be change, but I don't think it will be as significant as some people think. But I'm excited for it. I think it's brilliant if we can take away all the process, all the crap, and free ourselves up to do really meaningful work. I think it'll be amazing.
Totally agree. I think similar to you, I think there's going to be a divide to some degree in the people function where you'll have one camp that goes toward the builder side, right, the ops and tooling side, and then the other path that's more the strategy player, right? And there'll be paths that go on both sides, but I think that thou shalt not always meet in the middle. And you're seeing that happen, right? Because you're seeing a lot of people that are either visionary and they're going after it and jumping at it and you know, kind of blazing the trail, or you're watching people that are waiting and watching. And you got to have both, right? And the world has always shown us that we have both. And I think the other thing that's going to happen too is that, you know, just as time goes, you know, this is just another shift, right? We've gone through evolutionary shifts over time, right? And so we've gone from web to then cloud, right? Now those things are just like natural and like we just always assume things are web-based or cloud-based. And then it'll be AI, and it'll be there. And whether we think about it or talk about it, it's just going to be there.
Yeah, that's such a good perspective around the paradigm shifts essentially that we go to. And I wonder if it's going to be one of those things where there's an inflection point. I don't know if there was a point at which you guys were like, oh, we have to be people and culture now, or we're going to rebrand, or if it's going to be more of a gradual, we look back and we say, oh, wow, that was such a enmeshed kind of change into this new role. So I'd be interested to hear if there's any like case studies around what people functions did and how they transitioned, looking back at it.
I think you normally just get a few people that, like what we talk about House of Visionaries, you get a few people that think differently.
Yeah.
They decide, I don't want to call it HR anymore. It doesn't sit with my morals, my values, my vision for what a great people function is. And I'm gonna call myself X and off you go. And then people go, that's cool, I like that. And it becomes a trend and everyone jumps on it. And you're seeing that already with AI. There are people and businesses and players that are going, okay, we're going to push the boundaries on this. Yeah. And they won't always get it right. And that's the exciting thing though, is you go, well, I got it wrong, I need to put it back. I haven't gone hard enough. I got that call wrong, I've got this one right. But the only way to do that and to get those inflection points is to really push the boundaries. And that takes people who are brave and willing to go and do that. And there's probably not loads of people out there that are willing to do that. And the ones that do, they're the ones that innovate. They're the ones that lead the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and sometimes they get it right, and sometimes they get it wrong, right? You and I have talked a lot about that over the past, just where you've got, you know, companies like Zapier, for instance, that has a really interesting strategy and has been really vocal about what they're doing and how they're doing it, and I think they've built a lot of trust because of that. Not to mention their own brand, but then you've also got, you know, players that have come out and admitted that their AI implementations have fallen very, very flat. You know, Salesforce is a good example where they just laid off 4,000 plus people because they made a bad gamble. And that's, you know, I think that's what it takes though to be a visionary sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Where do you think we're going to see more of that? Because we've seen a lot of folks who have come right out the gate and have gone really, really far. Some have pulled back. Do you think we're going to see more of a trend of maybe cautiousness, or do you think we're going to keep seeing those people kind of pushing forward quickly? Where do we see that going?
I'm sort of, I still think, again, like, look, AI's been around for like 70 years, right? And we're seeing probably the more generative AI perspective of creating content. And I still think, again, there's so much more for people to dig into. I think you think about agentic AI and like language, like the LLMs, and there's so much more that AI can do, but people are catching up because companies need to absorb all of the change. I mean, this is a big change management that companies need to take on. I mean, some companies even have multiple AI, right, that they're using. They have different AI that they're using for different things. And, you know, people that are working are like, well, which one should I use? I'm not really sure. And they're still trying to learn and figure out what works for them. So I think there's this period of also catching up that we need to do. And I think in some cases, like, I'm a huge fan of piloting things out and testing them and seeing, okay, does this work? How do we launch this to larger groups so that there is more of an adoption? Because at the end of the day, that's what you want. I mean, you want people to use it. It is an investment, and, you know, as an organization, you want to invest in something that's going to help, again, with your people, with speed, with automation, with whatever your challenges might be. And so, I mean, I'd say I think it's a it's going to be interesting to see how people are going to evolve the usage of and the use cases and experimentation of AI. But I think what we're seeing right now is, again, sort of this realignment of what works and what's been, what's being absorbed and what's being adopted and what maybe people are struggling with. And some of that comes from fear. At the end of the day, I think some people, I'm not one that likes to do things that I'm scared of. And so I think when AI was first, released, I was sort of like, I don't know, like, I don't actually want my information out there. Should I be putting this in here? What's happening with it? What's the security behind it? So you start asking all sorts of questions, but the more you can educate people on it and get people comfortable, the higher the adoption is going to be.
Totally. I also think the more intentional you are about like how you set that up and where you infuse that, as an organization, for instance, like do you redevelop your ICP? Do you infuse it into how people onboard at your company? Do you give them the North Star of what you really want the AI strategy to look like and feel like and how they should be interacting with it? And then bring it all the way down the down chain to how they're measured and against their performance. And I just think the companies that are spending time being intentional about that are the ones that are going to at least be a few steps ahead. Whether they're the winners or not, I'm not sure, but at least they have that intentionality.
I think it's really difficult. The question around like, have they gone too far, or what's going on, and what is it going to look like? I don't think anyone knows. I don't think anyone knows. Even the smartest people on AI that are running the coolest companies, earning the biggest money, I don't even think they know. And that I think's fun, because as a leader, you've got to place some bets, and you've got to say, okay, there is no playbook. Nobody in the world knows where this is going and what it's going to look like. And I've got to understand my business, my environment, my people, my industry well enough to start to place some bets on where I think I want to go and what I think I want to do. But I think it's going to be different for everybody. There'll be some companies, industries that pull hard against AI and say, no, we're going to go down this route and we're going to have very minimal AI in our stack. There'll be some that decide to sit in the middle, and there'll be some that go all in. And within reason, I think all those people can be successful. But it's about understanding what's right for you, for your business, for your culture. And yeah, I don't think there's anyone out there that's got it right. I think the stuff in the news at the moment is really interesting. If you think about kind of Altman's, then ChatGPT and Microsoft, like it was a matter of months ago, it's revered and everyone was so excited. You read the press now and it's like, well, is ChatGPT this and Microsoft that? Is this NVIDIA money happening? And like, it's just, honestly, it changes every 2 or 3 weeks. And in that, I think there's also, you've got to be able to operate through the noise. And that's why I think it's really important to understand your world very well, place some bets, and then be able to operate through the noise. Because if you just follow the trends and the noise, you'll change every 2 weeks and you're never going to get anywhere.
Absolutely.
I also think that in some companies, you can have all three of those options, right? Like some groups maybe are going all in on it, some are not, some are maybe half in, right? And so I think there's a lot of learning that companies can do also with just seeing how they're, internally are managing it. Because I don't think, I think for many people, like you have, you're part of an organization and you have, many different sort of sub departments, functions, et cetera. And, some might need AI to actually function and some may not. And I think for years, like going back to the whole premise of this podcast, right? Like for probably years, people thought, well, no, we'll always need HR. You're always going to need HR because you're dealing with people. But I think the real question has come in where people are like, well, are we dealing with people? What if I'm just dealing with AI? Or what if I'm just, I'm dealing with agents or chatbots, right?
Yeah. I do agree with you though, in terms of inside one business, you can have multiple things going
You
on.
can have multiple things going
You can have
on.
one function that's all in on AI, and you can have one function that says, I don't want to touch it at all.
Yeah.
And that's okay, but that's the understanding you need. You need that depth of understanding, where do I want it and where don't I want it? And
Absolutely.
That's really, really important.
I think that's also where you need to meet your people in the middle.
Absolutely.
Right. The great Jim Page has shared some wisdom with me over time, and he's talked a lot about how you need to have a bit of a framework to get people kind of excited about what it is. He's used the AI summer camp theme, which I absolutely adore. Where you start out with playing, and then you go from playing to like focusing on things that are going to be like built for yourself, to then like building for your team. And I like that evolution. I think that, again, back to that intentionality, that the strategy to like make it comfortable for people, and not so scary.
Going back to the agents piece as well, I was speaking to some CPOs the other day and said, like, do you think you can see a world, and how far away do you think that world is before, when you ask them what they do, so I'm a CPO of X company, say, well, how big are you? And they say, well, we got 1,000 people and we got 500 agents. Like, they start to classify the agent as a workforce. Like, and I can see that being absolutely the case, and absolutely the world that we end up in. I don't know how long that is before we get there. I don't know whether you guys have got an opinion, but I can absolutely see a world where people are classifying AI agents as workers, treating them almost as a human, as a resource.
I think you like have to almost take it up a level from there, even, and kind of come to grips with what your like company strategy is. Like, are you leveling people up, or are you optimizing for ARR per employee, or whatever that metric might be, and that then feeds into how that might look.
Yeah.
I feel like we're getting into an interesting area around how the organization applies and approaches AI, and we've got this now issue of centralization. Are we going to have like a chief AI officer in a team that internally goes and builds that out, or is it going to be function dependent? I mean, have you guys seen any examples of this playing out, and where do you see that potentially going?
Again, I would say, like, there is no blueprint and everyone's doing something different.
Yes.
And I think there's pros and cons to both. I think decentralization, you can move fast. So if it's decentralized, you move really quick, have impact, but then it's not connected is the risk. So you've got all these different business functions all doing different things. None of it's aligned. You can't talk, connect, and join this up into one piece. And then you've got the centralization piece where you say, okay, great, we're going to centralize it all, but it's slow as hell. No one get anything signed off. Everyone's waiting centrally for something to happen. They don't understand your business function. So I think it's a real challenge. And again, there is no answer. I think it's about understanding your business and placing a bet and saying, look, okay, which option do I think is right? I've seen both fail miserably, and I've seen both work to a certain degree. So yeah, I'm not sure there is a right or wrong on that. I don't know what you guys have seen and experiencing, how you guys are approaching it or seeing.
You're spot on. I mean, I think centralized, you're moving slower, but you're moving with people. I mean, they're all going with you, right, along the journey and the change management of all of it. But the decentralized approach gives you the ability to experiment and try new things and take some of those learnings and put into your centralized, whatever you call it, structure, and, moving things forward. Again, going back to that, moving things forward with people with you. I also think the centralized approach, it helps with adoption because you're creating a sense of confidence for people to believe in it, whatever it is that you're trying to do and whatever you're solving for. Every company is different. You have different issues. But I think to the end, when you think about new tech, any sort of new tech being introduced into the organization, I think you need to have a sense of confidence. And that comes from security, from structure. At the end of the day, most people like predictability. But you need some of those people who are, the visionaries, right? Who are daring to do something different and try something out, but in a bit more of a controlled way, less, applied to everybody.
Yeah, I totally agree with what both of you are saying. I also think that, the more people spend on the enablement, the more people spend time on, here's how you use it, here's where you should focus, here's the three things you should spend the time on. I think you're going to see just a different level of adoption and comfort around it. There's just like such a vast array of people at this point that have either jammed their heels into the ground and are waiting for this AI train to go by, or there's people that are like really on board and excited about it. I also have seen things kind of like function differently over the course of my time now. It's like where you've either got the chief AI officer that's been brought in to either centralize or be focused externally to tell the AI story, or maybe it's internally and externally. I've also seen the CPO role start to evolve. We've seen CPOs become CIOs and COOs now. And so I don't know if there's a playbook anymore. It's just like, let's just keep reinventing.
Right. There's so many different approaches. Awesome. And then is there anything in the space that's like fundamentally improved or altered how you have approached your work in like a game-changing way?
Before I just to ask quickly,
Oh,
sorry,
yeah.
before we go in, what do you guys think about the security element of all this? Because you've got this the centralized and decentralized element, but I'd love to know what you guys think about the impact that security has in terms of what they're signing off, what they'll let you play with, what they won't let you play with, what they'll let you do. Like what? Because I feel like that's having a huge impact on what happens, the pace, what we have access to. And I'm actually not sure whether that's good or bad, because I think there's pros and cons to it. But I wondered what you guys are seeing and feeling on the security side.
I mean, I think it depends. Every company is different. So if you're a public company, if you're a private company, sometimes I think having a bit of security will help slow things down in a good way. Again, trying to bring the adoption and reduce any risk to IP. Again, like every business is different, and what they're navigating is different. But I again, like I'm a fan of that kind of both. Secure, you have a structure for the company to work within, but you still have an opportunity to try new things, do things differently. But again, in a way that's a bit more controlled. I think that's just helpful for companies as they scale and grow, but also as again, we're all learning.
Totally.
We're all learning with AI. I mean, every day we're learning something new and trying something different. I mean, I think that's a key point. I think I just think it's important that we keep in mind, like every company is going to be different.
Yeah, I would totally agree. I've seen certain companies be really relaxed with their AI policy and the tooling that they share with their employees, and then I've also seen it be really buttoned up and hard to access because they do take their policies and their security so seriously. I think at the end of the day, it comes back down to the teams that kind of are sharing their policies up front, are teaching their people about what is acceptable, what's not. Again, that increases the trust and the adoption like tenfold right there. And then you've mitigated any sort of risk for your potential customers and maybe even like your own IP and trade secrets. I think, though, that the lawyers of the world are going to have a heyday with this. I mean, man, are they going to have a hard time trying to figure out, how much risk can we take, or should we not take any, or where do we fall in the middle? And so, my guess is that at some point, we'll start to see all these AI policies shift from the people team's perspective. And yes, it's great to increase trust and be thoughtful and empathetic to our employees and our candidates. But I also think that the legal teams are going to come in hard on this in probably maybe like the next 12 months.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting. I'm a bit more like gung ho. Let's just do stuff and have some fun with it. And I used to think the security aspect of it was a little bit too much in some environments, too restrictive. But I'm now starting to think, well, actually, when you start to see a lot of like cases starting to come forward, there's been another big one that's come forward recently in the talent space. The more of those that come forward, the more restrictive it's going to get, and there'll be some companies going, well, I'm so glad we were a bit tighter and a bit more controlled on this because we're not going to be exposed as much. But the more cases that come forward in this space, the more controlled it's going to get, which will limit the impact of what you can do with AI. Yeah. So I wonder whether, like, even in people and talent functions, whether it might be taken out of our hands in terms of the level of adoption and the pace and what we can do, because the security side will just start to tighten up more. And say that could be a good thing. but it also might slow things down. And I used to be very much like, it's too slow, don't need it, let's just go and have some fun and do stuff. And then you start to think, well, actually, maybe these people have maybe got a better balance.
I mean, I think the other challenge too is you have it available on a personal level, right? So, if I'm a organization, if I'm a CIO or a CEO somewhere, I would want to know they're using my version of whatever it is, ChatGPT, Claude, Copilot, whatever, versus going out and doing something on their own where they're totally exposed, I think. So the more encouragement to using, the company, whatever agreed AI, the better, I would say. But
I think there's so many companies that have got employees using
100%, yeah,
2 or 3,
yeah,
and none of them are inside the company's boundaries. Like, I know so many companies that have got X, but I know for a fact that they've got teams of people that are just using their own thing, and
like on their cell phone.
Yeah. It's just that, and that is part of that worry, and we haven't fully explored yet what that means for IP and security risks and lots of things going on here.
I think that shadow AI usage also, brings down your adoption, right? Because you've got then people that, claim that this tool is better than your tool, right? And so that gets people then, disengaged on what you might have available at work versus then I'm just going to go on my phone and I'm going to plug everything in there and, maybe get in trouble.
Yeah, there's a lot of areas where I feel like it will make jobs simpler in a lot of ways, but it might complicate things for our good friends in legal and compliance. Definitely. And they're going to be dealing with very new problems coming up soon. Are there any ways that you can look back and say, okay, this has really fundamentally changed my role and it's really changed the way that I approach things on a day-to-day?
I mean, I would say that for me, I've got, some workflows that I've put in place that, help speed me up. Especially as a solopreneur right now, I spend a lot of time, by myself doing things. And so finding ways to move the minutiae off my plate so that I can spend more time on high value, conversations, relationship building, business development, delivery, those things are awesome. Plus, there's awesome ways to standardize too with AI now too. And that's the other thing is I found like the ability to standardize from my website to my decks to how I talk to the communications I put out. It all can be very fluid now.
Yeah. Can I just say I'm so impressed by all the applications you've come up with AI for so many creative things in your day-to-day. It's so cool to see your ideas come across on LinkedIn and through the chat and everything like that. So
yeah, I've seen some stuff that Mike's put. It's freaking awesome. Remember that one of those the AI job description thing that was, he sent me what I think. I was like, oh my God, this is cool. Like really, really, really cool.
Yeah.
So there's some brilliant stuff in there.
I did tell people about the elf on the shelf. That was very popular.
Wait, I didn't hear this.
So I built so one of the things we do elf on the shelf in our house, and
We do also.
I constantly forget to move it, and I'm also really lazy.
Wait, you move it?
Well, I'm somebody that moves it.
Shh. I thought it was magic. It was magic.
Well,
so
it needs a lot of ideas, apparently. And so I built a tool that comes up with ideas and is a reminder bot as well. So you get
That's
a
great.
reminder and an idea every night. So you don't have
That's
to.
brilliant.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
But this is the nice part about having a community too, to, just put a spotlight on something you could be doing better. And I think the more people do that and get comfortable with, I often feel like people are ashamed of using AI as a thought partner or a tool. And I find it to be a miss, frankly, because I think there's so many great things out there. There's so many great prompts. There's so many just insightful things you can use it for, again, like outside of in your job, right? I mean, I use it to help me with calendar management. I use it for emails. I use it for any comms that I'm doing internally, but it's learning me. So it's also learning my tone and the way I talk and the way I approach people. And that also is something to be said, right? I mean, it takes time to have a good connection with AI, if that makes sense.
You said something really interesting right there that just about the evolution of how people are comfortable either talking about it or not. And I don't think people are still, because I will like interview candidates from time to time and ask them about how they use AI. And it's like sometimes they're scared to like actually disclose.
I
Or
agree.
I even remember like in the early days, people would be like, "Did you write that?" And be like,
Yes.
maybe, and now though you say, yeah, no, I didn't. ChatGPT wrote that. And it's like you kind of stand behind it and you're more firm about it. Do you feel like?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think, again, it's an evolution. Probably every place is a little bit different. But yeah, I mean, I think when it was first introduced, people were shy and scared to use it because I think they felt like, oh, well, I'm not doing the work. But
Right.
at the end of the day, you are doing the work because you're connecting and creating this this workflow, right? I mean, at the end of the day, everybody that engages with the tool, right? I am a big fan of not going to it first. I think I say that when I talk to everybody. I engage as a thought partner, so I like to bring my ideas and thoughts to AI, and then I try to perfect it. But I think going there first, you're missing the whole creativity piece, and it just. I think the output will be different that way as well.
I couldn't agree more. And this will so through that door over there, Tom's in there. He's the community director, and you guys will know Tom. But the other day he came up with some marketing stuff and a positioning. It was like really edgy, really on the curve. Like loved it. I thought it was really, really cool. And I messaged him back saying, "Oh man, I love this." He was in our group chat, and I was like, "Did you come up with this, or did you put this into ChatGPT?" Get out of that.
Was he offended?
So offended. he was like, what? He's like, no, this is original Tom. This is all me. But what I found really interesting with it is, I think there's a real risk of people having a massive disconnect from their work. Like if you come up with an original idea, you're so much more attached to that idea. And you will move heaven and earth to then follow it through and make it actually a success. And I think your point's absolutely spot on. I think we need to give guidance to the teams to be like, we want original thought. We want it to start with you, your brain, your passion, your energy, your risk, you're placing a bet. You've got to come up with the original thought. And then from there, you can either test that thought with AI or you can use AI to help you roll it out. But we don't want AI bringing up the original thought, because I just don't think people are going to have the passion to follow it through. It's just going to be throwaway projects, throwaway ideas. No one's going to have the energy to actually make it a reality. And I couldn't agree with that anymore. And hopefully Tom wasn't too offended that I didn't think he was capable of coming up with great brand positioning, because he is.
That's his job.
Yeah. That's right.
Exactly. Yeah, I like that idea of like intellectual equity almost in your projects and ideas.
100%.
And bringing the passion.
Yeah.
Fantastic. We always like to end on a positive note, right? So what are you all most excited about? Maybe it's something we talked about earlier. Maybe it's something new in this space that we can go leave with and look forward to.
I think for me, I am so excited about the potential, which I actually believe this will happen, the real rebrand of what you consider human resources, right? Or people and culture. I think there's a huge opportunity for everybody in this space to really lean into AI and take it to, again, level up and be more thought-provoking, insightful, impactful, and dealing with data that's really not in retrospect, right? Dealing with data that's in the moment. And I think if we do this right, we have the ability to be even more, put more of the human behind the human function, right? And but again, we have to do it right. So I think it's going to take a lot of time and understanding and patience, but time, definitely time.
Yeah, I definitely agree there. I'm excited for the evolutionary shift from like all the things I build, right, is kind of what I call like selfish software, right? There's things I build for me or for you or for teams. But it's all very, very selfish in how and what we're reaping from it, right? I'm excited for that shift where people are thinking broader, thinking more intentional about exactly what they want from their tooling, are thinking more like a product, right? Go figure. Weird. I also am super duper excited for the role evolution. That to me, I talk about that a lot, and it's because I get so excited about the unknown of what people's roles are going to become, or being able to double down on skills that I've like spent my career like honing, and like helping people like achieve a higher level there just gets me super duper excited.
Yeah, I think for me, it would be, I think I have a fear, and I think lots of people have a fear that AI will cause us to become less human. So we'll spend less time interacting with humans. That's certainly one of my fears. But I actually think AI has the ability for us to become more human. So my dream, I suppose, and my vision and what I hope is that we get to the point where we can use AI to take all the shit away. And I could just spend 100% of my day speaking to people, dealing with people, building connections, building trust. There's a brilliant quote, and we were talking about the Walt Disney on something else earlier, but I watched a documentary with my kids the other day on when he built the first theme park, and all the workers and the production staff used to say, "Don't go to Walt with any problems. Just let him dream. Just let him dream." And that is my hope, that AI gets me to the point where I don't have to do any of the shit, and I can just work with people, dream, and then actually work with those people to turn those ideas into something amazing and have like great fun doing it. And everything's about interaction, ideas, driving it through together and making something incredible happen. And you can just let all of the doing of that happen with AI and agents. That would be my utopia.
Yeah. Well, what an incredible vision for that. And this has been an amazing conversation. This is just the start of the conversation as well. We've got a big year coming up for us, and there's going to be numerous more problems that we're going to come across that are going to be very new and very exciting as we tackle them. So thank you all for coming out and tackling this really big challenge. And we'll look forward to keeping in conversation. Hopefully everyone will be following along with us.
Thanks for
Amazing.
having us.
Thank you so
Sabrina.
much.
Thanks for hosting.
This is great,
guys.
Yeah, this is awesome.
So much fun.
So much fun. Good conversation.